producer talk. 2, 1, alright. Going live. Oh, I should probably make it full screen. There we go.
Okay, assuming that the stream is working and everything else, and there it is. We see people. Recording in progress. Okay, so welcome to our friendly stream with all of our HvZ moderators around the country, talking about running HvZ in 2021. All the things that we're currently doing could change, so we can't do it, and just the overall experience. I'm Brian. I'm hosting and moderating the moderators, and let's just go down the list. Who's here? Let's start with Geneva.
Hi, my name is Magdelena. I am the game director at Geneva College. I'm a junior history major with a minor in writing, and this is my 3rd time moderating, first time game directing. Is there anything else you want me to say?
Oh, no, you're good. We can just go to the next person.
Hi, I'm Michael Lasik. I am the club president and one of the game directors at Grove City College. I have been a moderator since 2019, and I have been a player since fall of 2017.
Alrighty, thank you. My name is William Stuckey. Is my audio on? Yes, cool.
Yep.
Gotta love that. My name is William Stuckey. I'm from Purdue University. I am a senior in graphic design and communications. I am also the president of the Boiler League of Tag, our wonderful, wonderful Humans vs. Zombies and more club. I have been an officer for 5 years, and I've been a member of the club for 6 since fall of 2016.
This is my turn.
Yes, going around.
Hi there. My name is Gabe. I'm the president of Gators vs. Zombies, which is the University of Florida's HvZ club. I've been a member of this club for 3 years now. I've been president for 2 years, and I'm going to be head mod of our upcoming week-long game. Yeah.
All right. Sorry, was someone talking?
You're good.
All right.
You can go for it.
All right, sounds good. So, hi everyone. I'm Sriram. I am an admin or moderator for the Georgia Tech Humans vs. Zombies game. Right now, I am a master's student at Georgia Tech in computer science. I have been involved with the game since fall 2014 as a player, but I've started adminning since the spring of 2020. So, yeah.
I think we have one left.
All right, that would be me. I was just waiting for my cue, I guess. Hello, I'm Henry Denny. I am the club secretary for UMBC HvZ. This is my 3rd year being a part of the club, 1st year as an officer / admin, and I'm a mechanical engineer.
Okay, I think that gets everyone here, and let's just get right down to it. HvZ during a pandemic has not been as fun as we'd all hoped it would be. How have we been changing things so we can actually run games? I know a few of you have actually had schools running games, some as far back as apparently last year, so I guess I'll point to Mike as the first person to answer. How have things changed with the pandemic happening?
The pandemic set up a lot to change. We definitely, over the summer of 2020, took a hard look at how things were being done, and we sort of created a contingency plan, or a series of them, depending on what the school would let us do. The final conclusion, or the agreement that was made upon, was we were running missions only, all the zombies got full noodles, and that was kind of, and then masking was the big three that we did for the event. This was done in order to promote as much time outside of the game, because with running a full week long, you have the 24-hour day play, and trying to do that, a lot of our players like to just stay held up in their room all week, and that with the nature of how the COVID virus spreads, they wanted to minimize the necessity for that as much as possible. The pool noodles, we only use 2-foot long ones, but they removed any physical contact in the game basically whatsoever. And we ran that for all of last year, was just mission based. Sometimes they were one day, sometimes it was a mission a night. Because now you're taking a game that's over 100 hours of play for a week long down to 5 or 6, reducing the potential for any issue to almost non-existent. We had no spread from our games, and so we were actually able to, with the approval of the school, run a normal pre-COVID week-long earlier this semester.
Cool. And just so everyone's clear, feel free to jump in whenever you want to if you feel like you have something to say. Just go for it.
All right. Do you mind if William, were you gonna go, or do you mind if I go?
Nope, go for it.
All right, cool. From the perspective of UMBC, the pandemic has stopped us for a while, but we are back way stronger than before. During the pandemic, UMBC was fully virtual. There was no one on campus, no clubs, anything like that. Sorry, there were people on campus, but you were basically stuck in your dorms. You couldn't do anything. But with the start of this semester, we are opening our doors again to all players. Our restrictions have been pretty loose. We still require masking while indoors, and we require everyone who comes to have vaccination cards proving that they, of course, are vaccinated. And if they show that, then they can play HvZ without restrictions of a face mask while they're outside. Very straightforward. UMBC didn't give us many restrictions, so we're almost back to how things were. We have to edit our game types a bit, so it limits touch contact. We still do quick touch by hand for tags, but most objectives where it requires you to hold instead of holding onto a person, we either do proximity holds or use pool noodles and that kind of stuff.
Go for it, Will. Or Gabe, pick one of
I'll go for it. So we've been running a variety of games over the last 2 years in response to COVID. And like we were talking about earlier, one of the biggest things for us was what the university was like ready for us to do. So I know we were one of the first student orgs at my school to send in like a full plan for how our club was going to operate during the pandemic. And what we started with is like fully no contact, like fully player versus player Nerf battles, which we had done as like HvZ style with like objectives and puzzles and stuff. And then we moved on to, after that, we did just PvP days where we had like big like almost video game like battles of Capture the Flag and Team Deathmatch and King of the Hill. And then over the summer we actually went back to doing HvZ. We considered doing the pool noodle thing, but we just at the end decided against it for just practicality's sake, and so we started requiring masks at all times, only outdoors play, players have to be either vaccinated or have a COVID test for within 2 weeks. And then as the summer went on, we did a game at the end of the summer when things were starting to look a little bit brighter, and we did a game that was mask optional for outside only, and that was not something that we kept up with. After the game, we decided that was probably not best idea, and going back to doing mass fully required, both outside and inside for our most recent game. As for like objective styles, I know earlier we mentioned like not putting hands on an objective to hold it, like a player like that. So what we did is we bought a giant inflatable hamster ball, and we just and one of our objectives in the last game was we put one of our mods in this giant hamster ball, and we said, players, you gotta push that up the hill. And it was a really good time. So we've been doing that kind of stuff where we've been working with objectives to see like, okay, how can we make this as safe as it can be while still maintaining the core aspect of it in the game.
Okay, anyone else joining in?
I guess I'll tell you, but I mean, quite frankly, the way that we adapted is we just stopped running HvZ. I mean, it's as simple as that. We were fortunate enough to have a massive lineup of PvP games. We'd been workshopping for the past couple of years, and so when they said no physical contact, we said, we gotcha, and we just kept running business as normal with PvP only. So it's really nice to be able to get back in the field and start doing some HvZ stuff again for the first time since fall of 2019. I also, and this is separate, I want to point out there's a couple of technical things going on right now. The stream, viewers, is zoomed in just a little bit. You're not quite getting the full picture. There's something up with the aspect ratio. So please bear with me. I'm going to be trying to play with this setting. This is the first time we've ever tried to do this. And also, I don't know if it's picking up my audio because the screen is not changing to me. And I want it to. Anyway, yes, that's my answer. We'll continue on as planned, and I'm going to keep poking around with these settings and try to make that, A-okay.
Okay, well, I'll give you like 5 seconds if anyone else wants to join in.
Sure.
Otherwise, good.
All right,
Go for it.
sounds good. So, pretty much like a few others said, at Georgia Tech, most of our students were not on campus during this past academic year. They were taking classes virtually. There were very few people on campus, but like no one was really interacting with people in person. So, unfortunately, for the first time in our history, ever since we were an organization, we had to have terms where we were not able to run games, and this actually did end up hurting a bit because we missed on a year of recruitment. We tried holding some events online through our Discord, like some HvZ trivia stuff, just other gaming stuff through our Discord, and that did get some interest. And in addition to talking about Nerf, but there's only so much you can do when you're not meeting in person. But thankfully, we started running games again this term. We cannot legally mandate our members to be vaccinated before playing the game because that is part of the USG rules who governs our campus. So we just heavily encouraged that all our players be vaccinated and that they wear their mask whenever they're indoors, even if they're not playing the game actively, and to just avoid physical contact as much as possible outside of obviously tags and so on. And we tried to modify our rules as much as possible and have a game in which there was as limited physical contact as possible during missions and so on. And thankfully, we were still able to get a really huge turnout for this game. Probably our hugest turnout in over 2 to 3 years. So that was really great. I guess the pandemic had people missing out on a lot of getting the opportunity to meet people again.
Yeah, I guess let's continue on that theme. You talked about, lost a year of recruitment, but had a bunch of people respond and want to play this year in turn. How's that looking for all of our other schools in terms of, did we lose interest totally? Did we have people go, oh my gosh, I have a thing I can tag my friends with, let's have everyone do it? What was how has that changed?
Well, at UMBC, we had our noob night 3 weeks ago, I believe, and we had an amazing turnout. Roughly 90 or so people came, ranging from alumni from past years to brand new people who've never even, played HvZ before. So it was a very vast amount of people, and it seems like nobody forgot about us. So in my eyes, I feel that people really still want to do this kind of stuff. just because the pandemic happened, it's not stopping anything.
Going off of that, with our turnout at Geneva, we had a really big downfall in the spring of 2018 because we got our Nerf blasters taken away, which is a whole other story. So when COVID hit, Luke Robertson, the head moderator before me, was able to get Nerf blasters back. And in return, we actually got a huge turnout because we got the Nerf blasters back, and Luke did a lot of work with the Beaver Falls Police and Fire Department as well as Geneva Admissions to get people back. And regardless of COVID, everyone had to be masked and had to be social distance, but Luke was able to convince Geneva that we can't use socks and blow darts, so we have to use Nerf darts so we can have a safe social distancing, which in return we got a lot of people back because we were only using sock bombs and blow darts. And I think even post-pandemic, we still have a lot of people signed up to play for our game in November, as well as the Grove City College Invitational in a few weeks. So I'm really looking forward to how post-pandemic HvZ is going to turn out.
Yeah, I'll jump right into that one. A very interesting thing that we've seen over here in Gainesville with like COVID is that after like a long period of having no games, right? Because we had a game like early fall 2019. Actually, so we had a game early spring 2020, and then and then everything after that was canceled, and we were basically inactive for like a year until we came back with our PvP days. When we finally brought back HvZ, especially like this fall, when we were back on campus, there was like this like mystique to it. Like, oh, what is this crazy game I'm hearing about? And so we saw, a massive uptick in our attendance. People just coming out to like find out what this game is like. Because we went from like having like 60 veterans at our summer game to like 300 players showing up to our first fall game, which was just really incredible to see. And then just watching like retention throughout the night, because it was a one night game. We ended up with like still like about 100 players by the end of the night, which was like 7 a.m. Just crazy to see everyone who came out to just check this out. They're like, what is this? And it's an interesting concept of like the longer we wait between games, the more mystique you get about it. So it's a balancing act of how many games do I want to run versus how much time do I want to spend just hyping things up.
We, COVID kind of shot us in the foot. We also were struggling with the fact that despite recruitment efforts, there seems to be a dwindling lack of interest. COVID has thankfully started to heavily reignite that. One of the biggest things that we've been noticing is week-longs don't have as much interest as they used to. And people are preferring this, like, can we do it in a day type deals? Not because week-longs are bad, but when you're trying to, do classes in college and all of that stuff, it can get complicated. So we definitely saw an uptick for our week-long this past month. And I'm hoping we're going to see an even bigger student participation when we have our invitational in October.
Okay. While we're hearing about all these PvP nights, are we getting a different sort of response in wanting these different activities besides HvZ? How is it looking about club priorities changing in terms of what games, what events are we holding?
Oh, I got this one. First off, give me 1 second. Oh, yes, there we go. I want to be big. All right. Yes.
All right.
So as when COVID hit, the first thing we did is just stop playing HvZ, but we kept rolling out with all kinds of new PvP games, campus-wide, individual, tournament style. And so now what we've seen in some of our veteran players is that a lot of our players are really, really used to PvP, whereas HvZ is all new. So there is a very high demand, to answer your question, there's a very high demand for PvP. We've been averaging, we got about 55 people at our last 3 PvP events. which it's just a regular event every week, every Thursday night at Wiley Residence Hall. We meet and we do some PvP. We get so many people returning to that. And so while these are the same people showing up to HvZ, it's completely new to them, whereas PvP is something that they know. So is a little bit of a higher demand for that, at least on our campus here in Purdue. There.
I'll jump to this next question. So here at Geneva, we're not really an official club yet. We're getting there, and we definitely have a lot of interest in people wanting to play like Pokemon Go or Capture the Flag or other things like that. Once we become an official club, we can do stuff like that, but since the fall semester for us at Geneva is really swamped, we can't really do much, but we are hoping to do more than just HvZ because we do pop up every once in a while and we're like, oh, hey, yeah, we exist, come play. And then people are just like, oh, yeah, I've heard of you, but I'm busy. So, and I'm also like kind of not really interested. But if you had this or this or this, I would definitely join.
Yeah, to jump back to that topic, can I be heard? I'm not switching to the big screen. Oh well. Anyway, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Your big screen for me.
Oh, right. I can see myself. Anyway, yeah, we have a very our player base is interesting because even like during our recent HvZ game. We had players asking about like what our next player versus player events were going to be. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that like, there are people who love all kinds of different games, right? Like laser tag, paintball, airsoft. HvZ is this weird intersection for, at least for us, and I think a lot of schools are the same way. But we're the only game you can really play on campus. Like you're not going to run around campus with paintball guns, I guess. Markers. They're called markers. You're going to get arrested, right? So HvZ is this really interesting thing because you get to run on campus with your Nerf blaster, and so a lot of players came to our events, especially during COVID when we're doing these like player versus player games, which are like video games basically, and it drew in almost a different crowd, people who maybe wouldn't want to come out and play the zombie tagging game, but this game, the strategic, hold the hill, interests them a lot more. So. It's bringing, at least us, and I think it'll start bringing other clubs into a similar place of like, Boiler League of Tag, of like being a, running multiple styles of event as like your headliners. I know like we're planning like this especially we're doing like 2 HvZ games, 2 PvP days, and some smaller skirmish style events. It's kind of to start to shift these clubs to being more. I think I've heard the term urban gaming clubs. I think it's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's going to slowly do that, which I think will, bring HvZ players to playing PvP and people to play HvZ, and in the end should probably make the game a little bit healthier because it lets you put a little space between your events by having other style of events. And lets you bring in mechanics from one to the other. I know we're playing a game right now where we're taking a few PvP elements, putting it into our HvZ game because it's interesting and shakes things up.
That's true.
Okay, so how? I think we've covered most of the things of safety precautions that we've had to do between masks, noodles, other such social distancing things. Let's see, player-based questions. How about for those of us who aren't actually into HvZ yet? There's plenty of colleges that have not had HvZ clubs yet, or urban gaming clubs in the case of some of our schools. How do we think about getting that started, especially with COVID still being a thing? How is the negotiating with the college side of things going?
I'll take this one just to start. I think one of the biggest factors here is really it's a like college specific question because every college operates differently. I know like here at UF we have a very fortunate position of like UF being very willing to give out its funding to clubs. Like here at UF, if you just have 10 members, you get $500 a semester. Like no questions asked. They'll just hand it to you. So it's a question of, and that's not like a thing that's been here for a long time. That's something that our student government fought, like student government put into effect because a lot of us were fighting for it. I wasn't here when that happened, but I have friends who like personally lobbied for that to happen. So a big part of it is talk to your school, talk to your student government, find out how to make a club, how to get that club funded. Talk to your local police department because you can't run HvZ without doing that. If you're friendly with them, if you work with them, and make sure you're running everything by your student government, the police department. I think someone mentioned fire department. That's probably a good idea as well. It makes it a lot more likely for your games to be able to happen. In terms of like player base, our big thing is handing out flyers. The week before a game starts, we send our entire moderator team in shifts to stand in the most popular position on campus and just hand flyers out. And we'll spend a week doing that. We'll spend 6 hours a day for a week just handing out flyers. I think we handed out like 3,000 flyers for our last event. Because people just don't know about this game. It's not like it's popular, but it's not. College students aren't going to notice it unless you put it right in front of their faces. So, yeah, that's my recommendation: is to send people outside to talk about it. Ask people ask people if they're interested. Ask people if they'd be interested. Yeah, and anything you can do to remove barriers to play. Like we give out loader blasters. We don't charge for our bandanas. We provide ammo. Like I know that's something we can do because of our funding, but whatever moderator teams can do to lower the barrier to entry will help players come on out and try it.
I do want to go off of what you were saying, Gabe, about getting people interested, especially breaking the barrier of having people use loader blasters. Because Beaver Falls is such a small town, we encourage our players to go out to thrift shops, especially the Beaver Falls Humane Society, to buy their Nerf guns because it does support local businesses. And also for advertisement stuff, because Geneva is extremely picky about what type of flyers we pass out on campus, we use Instagram a lot and word of mouth. And because we are a Christian college, we're required to go to a weekly chapel. And we do a lot of video promotions at weekly chapel. So if they see it at chapel, they're more likely to look into it. Or if they see it at Cokes and Connections, which is a big day for clubs to go out and advertise their club. It's mainly just word of mouth and social media for us, and also promoting small businesses around Beaver Falls and the surrounding areas like Cranberry, Monaca, Aliquippa, just the small thrift stores to not only help support the smaller local businesses, but to also, maybe buy a Nerf gun. Instead of buying it for $23, you can get it for $2. And it definitely helps our small economy thrive.
Yeah, to add on to what both of them said, I think Gabe perfectly summarized like how to start a new club from the start, like just work with the student government, your campus police, and so on, and make sure that everyone's on the same page when you're starting the club. And advertising. In terms of advertising, something that has helped us at Georgia Tech a lot has been working with our housing department. We also usually hand them flyers, and we ask if we can use the RAs to basically post these on all the dorms, and housing is really happy to work with us usually in this regard. So because of this, the week before we were able to just give flyers out to our housing department, and they use the RAs, and because of this we end up having our flyers across all the dorms on each and every single floor. Because of this, it's really easy for freshmen, sophomores, most people who are living on campus to easily see that, oh hey, it's that time of the year again, it's Humans vs. Zombies, we maybe have to check out what this is about. And that's an easy way to get people to notice that our game is happening. In terms of getting people to break that barrier thing, in addition to like obviously helping them on board, like we also give our bandanas out for free. We have we have some Nerf blasters we offer to new players. Mostly we just offer socks and marshmallows just to start out. Um, because most of our players usually like playing with that. We try to cater to what they might look for in humans versus zombies. Like, for example, there are some people who may not enjoy shooting so much. Okay, fine, you might enjoy being a zombie a lot. You might enjoy just running around, chasing people, having a good time, and just meeting people that way, camping your friends outside their dormitory. Like, there are many unique play styles you can do in humans versus zombies, both as a human and both as a zombie, and we try to describe that and see what the players might be looking for, and there's something in it for everybody, and we try to convey that to people who are trying to join the game when we do in-person advertising.
So there's another thing I want to touch on here. A lot of what's been talked about has been externally, getting the club known, getting how to keep people, that kind of stuff. I want to talk about structure, because structure is very important in starting a club and keeping a club running. One really good way to keep your club built up is to, reference former players, or in this case, with a new club, look towards other clubs. I mean, you see, there's several of us here today. We're very open people. I don't see any one of us turning down some fledgling club for questions. So always reference other clubs if you need help. Another thing is you want to have things set up before you really start running. You got to learn how to walk before you run. So have structure to your games. You can't just be like, all right, we have all these people here. Well, what are we gonna do? You got to have these things planned out. You got to have a team ready. You have to have. It's a lot goes into it, but most importantly, in my eyes, for this whole thing, it's just summarizing it. It's just structure.
Yeah, going off of that, if I can just jump back in, a big thing that I'd like to bring up is like, before you go and start running your own games, if you just heard about HvZ and haven't quite played it yourself, I really do recommend to try and find another club near you and just go travel and play one of their games. Like, it's definitely not like a necessary step. You can do it without it. But if you want to go travel and then like talk to one of the mods afterwards, ask them, what the process was like putting the game together, or what the process was like to, get their club started. Just all the clubs, at least all the ones I've talked to, have been very supportive, very helpful, very friendly. And I know if anyone ever came to like one of our games and was like, "Hey, how did you guys do this?" We would absolutely either after the game or we'd set up a meeting at some other point to talk about it, because we're just, at least I know with us, like we'd love more clubs to go play at. So we're always looking to help people, and if people want to come out and like ask any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. And I think all the other clubs here operate in a similar way.
I know personally, when I was first getting started learning how to play, learning how to run, the people who were doing that before me, I don't know if there's a way to make me big or not.
Oh, you're big. You're big for us.
Big. Okay, I get it. There was a lot. After my first year of playing, I went to an end war, and getting the chance to play other places is one of the best things you can do as a player and as a game runner. If you're looking to start a club, I mean, the list we've laid it out pretty straightforward. Have a plan, work with your school, work locally, work with the community. I mean, a big part of tonight even happening is all the colleges here saw the community and decided that we wanted to do this. We'll always answer questions.
On the topic of questions, there's one that's always present when it comes to running games. Is the next big thing in blaster technology going to kill our game? It's always the perennial question. How do we handle as people running clubs, things like advancements in blaster technology and just other things that could potentially make moderating games more difficult.
Okay, I can start out with this one. Right off the bat, FPS cap will handle a lot of the generic. All right, this shoots way harder, like the Nexus Pro. Nexus Pro hits very hard, and right off the bat, that's not allowed at UMBC because we have a 120 FPS cap. But as for advancements such as proton packs, FDLs, oh my god, the Perseus, just some of the things that are just ferocious against zombies in just large groups. Honestly, the Horde always finds a way. I have never personally had trouble dealing with somebody bringing something that's considered overpowered. You're only as good. Your blaster's only as good as the player, so to speak. So I mean, there are advances such as the hyper line. We at UMBC are banning hyper. It's too small. Sure, it's high capacity and all that, but it's so small that in the dark it just gets all over the place. But hyper and not in my eyes isn't really an advancement. That's personal preference. But yeah, I don't think blaster advancements will hinder you HvZ.
Something I'd like to discuss is less so the proton packs of the world, because those are large investments the person's got to do. You might get a couple players. Usually you're not going to even get one, but if you do, you're going to get one or two at most of our games of our sizes. And that kind of scale isn't going to do too much. The Horde will find a way. You can throw an extra tank at them, or whatever y'all call it over there, and it'll eventually kill them because humans are dumb. But one of the bigger things for me and us that we've been looking at is not those huge advancements, but Adventure Force and the Tomahawk 60, which is a $30 blaster that ostensibly most players could just show up with. That holds 60 rounds and fires 100 FPS and is semi-automatic. It's those things that are getting cheap enough that almost most players could just show up with them, that are going to swing balance heavily in the human side. And we've never once discussed banning those because we as players love to use new blasters like that. But it does certainly situations where moderators have to think about that. You have to kind of expect what your players are going to be like. If you're running a game for all new players, you're probably going to have mostly loner blasters or mostly just cheaper things. If you're running a game for mostly veterans or a large number of veterans coming back, you're going to have to start to balance things a little bit towards that. Expect it. Design your missions to not have a lot of times where it's just, okay, can the humans, hold off the Horde for X time, because they're going to have a higher advantage at them. Or if you do that, come in with a plan. Okay, I'm going to give out this many power-ups. Each, if they've got this many players with this many blasters, we'll give out, this many of these power-ups because they're going to help sway the balance. It just makes moderating a little bit more of a thought. You have to put more thought in beforehand, but I don't think it's ever at a point where it's going to sway the balance in a way where we have to worry about banning weapons. Except for the FPS cap. Obviously, the Nexus Pro does not function if you just put it in stock, so you gotta have them bring in, spring spacers is what we allow people to do. Yeah. Last thing is Hyper. Hyper's a bit of a divisive issue. I think we're gonna be allowing Hyper, just because we know that if a player happens to grab one, we don't want to be like, oh, you can't bring your blaster. We'll probably discourage our players from bringing it though, and that will hopefully keep that at a low number. And if it becomes a problem, we'll of course revisit it. And as a community, if we ever be like, we gotta band this together, just let me know. We'll talk about it.
So, as in terms of blaster attack, nothing has been, like it's been stated, nothing's really crazy. I know personally, I picked up one of the Hyper Blasters just to get a feel for it, see what it was like, and just after plinking around with it, getting some people to just try it, and this was just like plinking around a room type deal, it's a hard no. We were finding, just because of the smaller ammo type, I think we chronoed it to be about like the 100 FPS par. It starts to result in this smaller ammo type plus that. It just seems anyone that got hit with it was not happy about it. The pro line is something I've personally gone back and forth on my feelings on. As of right now, with the appropriate adjustments to be under the cap, running it just a 130 for HvZ, it's perfectly fine. If you are running a Mark II, it is required to have the muzzle brake on it at all times, and that's just because of the form factor. In terms of like FDLs and Percies and Proton Packs and Promethei, I think that's the word for it. As an FDL owner, we did a one-shot, one-night mission. I was the second or third person to die with an FDL, just because my skill wasn't up to where I was used to. It was the first time playing in a few years. So when it comes to blaster tech, I think we've proven time and time again that it's the player, not the gear they're carrying, that really makes their experience. And as a result of that, I'm not worried about whatever comes next.
I'm gonna go off of what Michael was saying when it comes to it's more of the players and not the gear that they're carrying, because there's always going to be that one player that just ruins the game for everyone, and we've definitely had some problem players on our end, and not so much blaster tacticals on our end. Obviously, what Gabe was saying, like if we do run into a situation where our blasters are going to hurt someone, then we can either discourage it or just ban it altogether. But I do agree with what Michael was saying when it is just the players that make the game and not what they're carrying.
Interesting. I think that the way to counter blaster power creep is just more creative moderation. You just look at the game, look at what is impacting the game, and figure out how you can work with that so that you're not depriving a player of their hard-earned or hard-created gear, but at the same time you're making it fun for everybody, not just them. And one example from my recent history is we have quite a few players these days who, hang on, I don't think I'm big. There. We have quite a few players at our campus with proton packs. I think we have 3 people who, in theory, could all bring it at the same time. And we have had a couple situations where you get a veteran with something really cool like that, and then all your zombies are just new people, just have to have a good time, and maybe they're just not having a good time if they're just getting absolutely wrecked. And so what we did is we just said if you have more than X amount of darts in your blaster, you can't carry socks, and that cleaned it right up. Because then we can just drop in sock zombies to taste, and it balances out very nicely, and that's a very clean, very simple way. Nobody has to know any weird rules except for the one guy who actually cares. And so I would just say creative moderating solves all problems, and you can't really kill the game with blaster technology. I firmly believe you can't kill the game with blaster technology. Global pandemics maybe, but blaster technology definitely not. Yeah. I'll go small again. There we go.
So at our game, we actually, despite having been in HvZ for a while, we only very recently got Nerf legalized. We got Nerf legalized in 2019 or 2018. I forget, it's been a minute now. And that was after a very long discussion and negotiation process with our campus police, who had been outlawing it for a while. And after that had happened, there were a bunch of concessions we had to do with the Georgia Tech police, and also with housing, because there were some housing rules. For example, I think till today, like LiPo mods are not allowed because of housing requirements, and some of those rules were balance related. It also ended up being balance related, such as FPS limits and so on. And in terms of like pure like balance reasons, I think the only rules we have right now regarding blasters are one, the ammo capacity. We don't allow blasters as big as the Prometheus or the Nemesis today, but granted, most people who are playing HvZ usually don't bring blasters that large because that obviously limits your mobility quite a bit too, because it's heavier. And the only other thing we've banned ever since is dual wielding blasters because we had a long time ago one of our players who dual wielded strikes, and this was the first time we had used blasters in a while, so most people were not familiar with how well blasters could work, and this was just done in the final mission, and they consistently stunned about like 20 to 25 zombies per charge, and that led to an unfun experience for a lot of zombies. So that's something that we've banned ever since. But I think I agree in that like humans are stupid. We can always find ways to kill humans if we need to, even if the blasters are strong enough. It's just a question of how we find those mechanics, and this is something which we're still struggling with as a campus that is relatively new to Nerf, but we're trying what we can. We're probably going to still not allow stuff like proton packs or like more than 10 RPS kind of stuff, but hopefully we should be allowing as much as possible and make sure that humans and zombies have a good time while allowing the latest Nerf technology out there.
I think that's it, unless someone else wants to chime in. In the meantime, we can all just stare at William's wonderful face.
Oh.
Okay, so next question. What are themes that we'd like to see in future games of HvZ that we haven't used, we haven't seen in their full potential? We always have the run-of-the-mill something made zombies, that sort of thing. What are more creative things we'd like to see?
Well, what was the question? I'm sorry.
What are some themes that we'd like to see in future HvZ
themes
games that we haven't seen used or used to very full potential?
All right, I got an interesting response to this one, but I'm gonna go last.
All right.
Or
so
later.
Before we go and
later.
start pitching these, I'm gonna ask a second question, mostly from my own knowledge. Do people? So like we get a lot of mixed feedback on our themes. We try to do really creative themes, or like, some relatively detailed stories. And we always get feedback, or players are like, "Oh, that's awesome! Would love more story, more cutscenes." And we also have players who are like, "Can you just put us in a field with some zombies and just say go shoot them?" So I think that, I don't know, it's a question of like, what is the balance that you all found players want between like an interesting theme and like just a standard apocalypse. Anyway, that's all I'm just gonna ask. Y'all can go pitch now.
I kind of want to jump in on the aspect of themes. There have been a lot of themes at Geneva that are kind of generic, but one of the things that I'm most excited for / looking forward to in regards to themes is we have a cartoon themed game lined up for a game with Grove City. Yeah, Michael knows what I'm talking about. We also have a Mario Kart Wii Coconut Mall themed game in November that I would love to go into more detail about, but I unfortunately can't. And going off of themes based on kind of the canon sort of stuff, rather than just, oh yeah, our theme is Pirates of the Caribbean and it's just all post-apocalyptic zombie things, but with pirates, and it's so cool, guys. Gabe, what was your question?
My question was the balance of like theme versus story, basically, of like, okay, you have a theme which will impact, maybe some costumes, maybe a couple elements. How much do you let your theme affect like your game, and how do your players feel about that? Because we've had players complain either too much or not enough story in the games, and it's been interesting to see what they react to.
Yeah, definitely what I have been working on with my staff is incorporating story and game at the same time, because I'm very much a writer. And, I have a minor in writing, and I'm very much focused on the story aspect and for the humans to figure out what the story is and have them piece together what is going on. And I know Luke, he did it differently. He had a cutscene in our week-long last semester with camping, where he got mauled by a bear because our theme was, camping, and there's a whole inside joke at Geneva that we, had a legitimate bear on campus, so he really wanted to incorporate that. So most of our theme is surrounded by, storytelling, missions, and Geneva inside jokes.
If I may, the biggest thing you have to note when you're looking at themes is there's actually two ways to approach it. I've heard it discussed in other circles as the idea of themes and skins. A theme is where you, at least in my terminology, the way I approach this, the way I look at it, is pouring into game mechanics, if their names of specials have changed, if missions are going to be more geared towards it, if you're really starting to incorporate those type of things, maybe the physical objectives will vary as a result. Skins are more of like your flavor text if you're doing like pirates. It's gonna be your normal. There will be a fetch quest. There will be a defense. There will be an escort. There will be point holds. But we're all pirates. Some sort of curse. X, Y, Z. Theme is going to be closer to, okay, we want to set this like it's a video game. So the way the mission's designed, if it's an escort, okay, let's set it up like a tutorial where you're going to be going through a tutorial holding different points trying to escort an NPC somewhere as they're trying to teach you how to play the game. And so in terms of things I think that they can be explored to their fullest, I think that video game potential is there. And we've done a lot of video game inspired stuff. I've seen a lot of people do video game inspired stuff, but I think it's one of those areas that there's always something more you can incorporate. I always thought it'd be fun, and I've heard people discuss it before, that the idea that for one mission, an EMP goes off, and as a result, all electronic blasters are knocked out. That would be a really cool thing, or if that was a particular area for a side quest. As far as actual themes themselves, one that I am in the very, very early stages of putting together, that I really am hoping, it goes through and becomes fruition, is I'm skinning a game, and probably there will be some theming to it as well, based on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and like Willy Wonka. And when I like to think about what ways to style games, it very much is you want something that has some action, you want that you can set stuff to. You want something fun. I mean, it's HvZ. We're going to have fun. We're running around with kids' toys. That's just something that's commonly accepted. But at the same time, you want to keep a little bit of that creepiness to it, because they are zombified Oompa Loompas. But that's my take on it.
That is both the worst and the best thing I have heard all day.
Next semester, if the invitational goes well this semester in a month, that's the plan for next semester. Zombie Oompa Loompas.
Spoilers.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, my say on this is, while theme is important, gameplay mechanics should come first. Not so much saying let's just have bland missions where it's just plain mechanics, basic apocalypse. But what I'm trying to say is you can build any theme you want around your gameplay mechanics, but you should solidify your gameplay mechanics first. It's good to make it clear what's going on without over-theming it and having it obscured by, XYZ. You want people to know what the mechanics are without being too convoluted in your stories. Most the HvZ, or UMBC HvZ night missions, they have flavor to them. not so much full-fledged stories, because we prioritize having good mechanics more so than having these really intricate storylines. For our week-longs, of course, we'll have themes that are based on the entire week and they'll build up, and that's good. But my point is, gameplay, your gameplay and mechanics should be honed, and then you build in the theme.
Yes.
Yeah, at Georgia Tech, we kind of do something similar to what Henry just talked about, in that our, like, going into the game week, before we decide the what exactly the theme of the game would be, we kind of already understand what kind of missions we'll be running throughout the week, and so on. Then we kind of, like, decide what the theme would be, and then we see, okay, how can we align the theme to, how can we align the theme to have an escort mission during this time and this day, or to have, like, a stealth mission during this time or this day, or just a point defense mission on Friday, the final day before the final mission, and how can we incorporate that into the finale? But we always try to prioritize, like, the gameplay first, and then the theme kind of just is like it's sort of like the sugar coating on top, just to make it more nice. And usually we try to focus on the mission details. We usually just have, like, a few lines below that when we post our mission updates online to say, okay, here's what the flavor text is for people who are interested. So if there are people who are interested in themes and, exploring stuff, we sometimes put clues in our themes, or sometimes some funny puzzles for people who are interested in figuring that out. And sometimes we might have one or two mechanics which align with the theme. For example, a couple of games ago, we bought a literal cockatoo inflatable, which somehow ended up being the protagonist of our entire theme. And we ended up having 2 or 3 missions which involved, like, point defense of the cockatoo, or moving the cockatoo safely from point A to point B, which all the players enjoyed a lot. But beyond stuff like that, it's mostly just trying to see how the theme fits the gameplay rather than the gameplay fits the theme.
Yeah. Okay.
So in terms of, like, creative and crazy themes we want to see done, I know my mod team's been kicking around the idea of a musical game for a good while now, and we're basically just waiting to have a mod team that has enough mods on it that can at least hold a tune to try and do. I know we've got, like, an entire SpongeBob SquarePants the movie game. It's just on the shelf that we've designed and just haven't actually run yet. And I know for us, like, we've been having a good time doing. Our last game in this fall was a Greek underworld themed game. It was all about, like, escaping from the underworld, dealing with Hades and Charon, the ferryman. But we actually have an interesting time with that Greek underworld game because we use, the Greek myths as, like, the basis of the missions, and it put us in this interesting place where our players kind of, even if they couldn't hear us, even if they didn't really know, like, didn't really listen to us, right, because they're shoot zombies, they still kind of recognized everything that was happening because most people know a little bit about Greek myths, and so everyone got really engaged with the story by, like, the last mission because they just seen enough of it. Like, you only kind of spend so long trying to avoid looking at Medusa before you are like, okay, I'm gonna actually try to listen to what the hell's going on. Yeah, it was interesting to see everyone kind of had everyone's able to come into it with an idea of what was happening,
Right.
And let them follow the story a little bit easier.
Go for it, William. I know you're chomping at the bit.
Okay. Well, I don't like themes. I really don't. In the past couple of years at Purdue, we've always kind of, I guess, followed you guys over there at UMBC. We build a week long, and we drop the theme on top 2 days before the event, because engaging missions come before good roleplay, I guess. But me personally, I do not like themes. Every time I go to a HvZ, I can never remember the theme. All I can remember is, like, the mechanics and the interactions I had with the other people. And one of our former presidents, I'll give Andrew a shout out, had a saying. He always said, the players should write the stories, which I am really taking that to heart and going a little bit extreme. So for our game week in October, I'm not putting a theme on it. I'm not even putting a flavor or a skin. It's gonna be, you're gonna show up, you're gonna play HvZ, and you're gonna shoot zombies, and we're gonna see how well that works. I'm also gonna take it one step further and get rid of missions as well. I've been talking to the founder of the Boiler-Legged Tag, and I got his notes from the 2010 game week from 2010. That's over a decade ago, and I think there's some merit to rolling it back a little bit before themes were even a thing. And so we're gonna try that at Purdue, and it's gonna be a little bit of an experimental game week, but I'm very excited to see how it goes. So I guess answer your question, crazy themes I want to see run. Themeless, no theme. Let's play some humans versus zombies. Let's go out there and have some fun. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. That's what they tell me at school.
Well, on the topic of players making the themes, you all played for a bit. At the risk of people yammering on too long about their favorite memory, let's talk about our favorite HvZ memory.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, everyone's gonna go.
Oh gosh, my favorite HvZ memory. I have way too many. I think my favorite HvZ memory slash scared the crap out of me moment was we were in Athens and we were in the parking garage underneath, I believe it was the student center, and I remember there was a ton of zombies and a tank, and I was fighting this tank off with one of the locals, and we were just wasting through ammo, and I hear Will and Andrew from Purdue just absolutely go down, and all of a sudden I remember next, Will's charging at me, and I go to load my blaster and I shoot him right in the chest. If I would have missed, I would have been dead. He was right here in front of my face, and I shot him right in the chest. If I would have missed, I would have been dead. And I did say hey, final mission, you can get me, and he did, and that was my favorite memory.
Okay, well, I can go. So, my favorite HvZ memory was quite, I wouldn't say unfortunate, but quite interesting at the same time. It was my first week long back in 2019. The dorm hall I lived in had one entrance and exit. It was Friday morning of our first week long, and I overslept. And once I finally woke up, I came downstairs, and I kid you not, there was an entire horde waiting in the lobby for me. We don't play inside. That be noted. They were waiting inside, and they told me they've been waiting for 5 hours for me. And this one nice guy named Coulter, he handled a lot of that week long. He handled a lot of the zombie operation. He shook my hand and said, "Henry, how are you doing?" And I just died a little on the inside. So I'm like, I'm not getting out of this situation, am I? And they opened the door for me. They're like, "Come on, man, it's right outside." And I mean, I didn't have anything to do. I had to get to work that day. I'm like, all right, you got me. And to add to that, what was interesting is with that week long, they had a really interesting thing going on that wasn't intentional. It wasn't planned on by the mods, but we had counterintelligence, so to speak. Humans were helping the zombies, which really isn't allowed. I could be wrong on that, but they ended up framing me as the counterintelligence afterwards. They had a whole Photoshop thing set up. It was great. it didn't work. But yeah, week longs. Yeah, they're. I haven't done a week long since because I'm a very busy person, but that was probably one of the best times I had at HvZ.
I can hop in here. Everyone will remember that time. First 2 or 3 times playing HvZ, you're running stock, whatever the latest thing was on the shelves, or if it's your second or third time, you might have finally gotten to a point where it's like a stock stripe or a stock hammer shot, something like that. For me, that was End War 2018. I hadn't even been in the community or playing for more than a year at the point, and the energy, the atmosphere, the experience was second to none. That particular year, that particular weekend, somehow I made final stand with stock stripe, stock hammer shot, 4 borrowed mags, and that was my whole setup. But that is a weekend that I will never forget, and that is by far my greatest HvZ memory.
All right, I'll jump in next. My favorite HvZ memory is from my first ever game, which was the UF Fall 2019 main game or week-long game. I can't remember what night it was. It was it was early in the week. We did a mission where they had all the humans assemble on this field, and it was this large grassy field where we usually play. I actually don't play there usually. I know we play Quidditch there. But it's a really brightly lit field, surrounded by basically forests on 3 sides, and there were some like objectives set out on the field, and we're like, okay, this is very interesting. This is not too large. What are we going to be doing here? And then as the human starts giving our briefing, like right on cue, the lights on the field just all turn off, and the field goes pitch black. And I was very new to the game. And all of a sudden, just seeing like this pitch black field, and knowing that we were about to have to like survive doing objectives on this field while zombies tried to kill us with literally no ability to see, was the moment my brain was like, "Oh, this is a very special thing. This is not, just people running around campus with their flashers. This is something that is going to be, a really amazing time, and people put a lot of effort into planning. And it was amazing, a lot of fun." Got like 1 kill at mission as a zombie, but it was fine. It was a good time.
Nice.
I can go next if no one else is going to talk. All right. So my favorite moment, this was back in our fall of 2018 game. Excuse me. So this was Saturday, the final mission of our week-long game, and so far, in every term, so until then, human players should survive until that point for what if this is the term where we survive the entire game week, including the final mission? Historically, it had never been done in a fall game because our fall games typically ended up being larger player bases, so because of that, there would be more bodies, more zombies. More zombies means less chances for humans to survive the final mission. So at this point, I was human, and 4 humans had already completed the objective, and they had already been achieved. So they got survivors. Now there were probably 6 humans left in play, including myself and another long-time human player. And this objective essentially meant that we needed to be within a certain place at 15-minute intervals, during which when the timer went off, if we were in that area and not tagged, we would just have survived. We would have been taken away to safety. And if we didn't get that time, if we didn't get it that time, we'd have to wait for another 15 minutes and so on. So it was sort of that repeating mechanic. And zombies eventually caught on and what if we just charge 1 minute before or 30 seconds before the timer goes down, so then none of the remaining humans can survive. So me and this human, we talked to each other, and we're like, okay, so you and me, we gotta like just charge them like with 3 or 4 minutes behind. We have like 2 remaining lives or 3 remaining lives in that final mission. We just need to charge them. We will get sacked, but we'll hopefully stun like maybe 20 or so between us. And then hopefully once we do that, once we enter play, some of the zombies are still stunned. We might have better odds of surviving. We might have better odds of actually making it this time. So we do that. We start walking up 2 humans up to what is a horde of maybe 50 to 70 zombies. And the zombies know what's going on, but they're not charging us. They're just walking back because they don't want to get stunned until the charge is supposed to happen. So I'm like, come on, charge me. What are you scared of? And then I just go in. I start charging to them. About 30 feet before, I just run onto what is a really muddy patch. I just slip completely, probably do a 180 on the ground and just land completely on my head. And all of a sudden, right on cue, 30 zombies just start charging me directly to me, and then I'm like, oh god, I'm just so dead. I'm completely on my back flat out, and they're just 30 zombies, and I don't think I stunned a single zombie in that entire charge. And the poor guy, he had to deal with like 20 other zombies, and he actually managed to get some of them while I'm just completely flat out on my back. And I just couldn't stun anyone because of how hard I was laughing. That moment, the entire build-up to that moment, and the way it was executed, like, it couldn't have gone more perfect, or it couldn't have been more funnier, in my opinion.
Okay, well, going back to the actual moderation of games, what are some things that we've done that haven't worked? I've been looking at the comments as people have been talking. Things like specials that haven't worked, trying to have player/mods that may or may not have worked for making gameplay happen. What are some things, as moderators, that you've seen that definitely did not work when trying to run an HvZ game?
Did not work. HvZ specifically, right?
Yes.
Because I've made so many mistakes, it's hard for me to keep track. I want to, okay, 2017, right? We're all freshmen, and by we all, I mean the entire officer team of the Boiler League of Tag, right? We're all freshmen, first year playing. Some of us have never even played a game before, and we're trying to write a game week because the club is just, collapsed and everyone quit, and it's like if we want to see it happen, we got to make it happen ourselves. And so we decided that previous moderators were too easy on the players, right? Too many people extracted, Let's crank it up. Let's really build up the hype. So we ran our first mission, Monday night mission, on a part of campus called South Campus, which is traditionally reserved for later in the week because most of our players don't have classes there. It's mostly research buildings and academic offices. So it's very unfamiliar territory, right? It's across State Street. Not a lot of people go down there. There's not a lot of lights, so it gets very, very dark. We're like, oh, we're gonna make this really tough. We handed out so many special zombie vests, and we had one of the OZs for that night was like a former track star. And we're like, oh, we're gonna make this. This is gonna be a hard mission. It's a slap in the face, a bucket of cold water. And every single human died. And we learned, I guess, a lot of lessons about balance with zombies. You do not want to throw out a bunch of special zombies, especially right away, especially on a Monday, especially with an entirely freshman player base, especially on an unfamiliar part of campus. And it's widely regarded as one of the biggest mistakes in recent history. Was the Monday night wipe, as they referred to it for years. We did lose about half of our week's player base in that one day. They all quit. Not because they stopped playing, not because they got tagged. When I say lose, I mean they walked out because of how just unfun it was. But we were able to actually get our numbers back up. We said anyone who wanted to revive could bring a friend to sign up for HvZ, and then they would get an automatic revive. And that actually, all the new people we got canceled out the ones we lost, and we ended up running a mediumly successful game week. But answer your question, biggest mistake was trying to ramp up the difficulty on a game when we really should not have.
think historically, we haven't had too many issues with like specials. A lot of times our issue comes from picking way too effective OZs. Any of our early wipes very much came for that. We tried human versus zombie, and that was met with mixed results. The biggest thing that comes if you decide to break your humans up for any game for HvZ is if they start to come together naturally, you let it happen. There was a game, I think this was fall 2019. I want to say 2019. The Sunday night, which is our first night mission, we had decided to it was supposed to be like Men in Black inspired, so the humans were broken into 4 squads, technically competing with each other. And the whole thing culminated with this king of the hill at the end of the night, on top of zombies running around. What we ran into an issue was halfway through the mission, the humans just started working together. You know, how things are supposed to happen. And the moderators that were running the game at the time really tried to almost force the separation, and that went rough. The other thing that we've run into in terms of what I would consider mistakes is doling out information. One thing we run with here many times for week-longs is we actually give the humans, we let the players apply, we let them pick, but we assign a general, so many lieutenants proportional to the player base, and a medic. And when we run week-longs, the only person that's told the entire scope of the mission is the general and his lieutenants, his or her lieutenants. What that ends up leading to is information can get lost. It can get lost in translation, a lot of exchange of information. But at the same time, giving the humans kind of this like upperclassman player to be like, if you have questions, go ask them, is always a lot of fun. It's really fun to kind of see people grow into those roles, or if there's someone really interested, freshmen will put their interest down, to see them like watch how the upperclassmen will do it, come back with like stronger gear. Stronger is being a relative term there. Something they're more comfortable with, and watching, it's a really cool way to promote growth through all the different years of players.
I'm gonna chime in real quick with moderator mistakes. In our spring 2021 game, our mod staff, and I know Luke is watching this, but I'm so sorry, it was a mess. Our mod staff was just not on the same page with one another, and there was a lot of miscommunication. So as the new head mod, I am trying to stay on top of the communication with my staff, and also making sure that my staff wants to be on staff, because we did have one guy who just fell off the face of the earth and did not respond to text messages, emails, and just didn't show up for any missions. So there was that, and also making sure that everyone is on the same page and everyone knows what's going on, when it's happening, why it's happening, and just making sure that I communicate effectively with my staff and they communicate with me effectively, and making sure that there's no bumps in the road and that we're all just on the same page, and also making sure that no one falls off the face of the earth.
Alright, so this is not something I've made a mistake of. I'm relatively new to being a moderator for HvZ, but this has been wisdom passed down to me from the ancients. There's a notorious HvZ event, well, week-long, called Brief-Long. Notably because it ended within, I think it was on Wednesday of when it happened. I don't know specifically. It was before my time. But some of the issues that happened with that were all of our admins were playing that game. So our moderators were our less experienced moderators were the ones handling the week long, while the admins who knew what they were doing, they didn't have to do anything. They were playing the game. Another issue with Brief Long was we gave our most known powerful zombie players OZ. And basically gave them free reign, which, that culminating with poor moderation tumbled into a lot of different things. So in short, you gotta have your moderator team up to par.
I have a couple of examples I think which I can talk about briefly. One of the things I think someone already alluded to this earlier, which is making sure all the moderators or admins are on the same page. So this happened as an example in one of our past games where there was an objective where we were asking if where one of our players had an antidote and they had to attempt a mission where during which they could die, and if they did it correctly, then you could progress on. Otherwise, you would just lose a life. The way it was supposed to work in theory was that antidotes were not supposed to count for that, and that's what the admin team agreed on. But the one admin who happened to be in charge of that particular part of the final mission was not aware of that. So the admin had communicated to the humans, yeah, you just lose your antidote, and you're still perfectly fine to function as a human. And so when the humans played it out that way, and they saw that the human who had actually attempted that was still alive despite failing the challenge, the other admins later confronted that admin. That admin was not aware, and now they couldn't retroactively kill that human who had attempted that challenge with what was information that they thought to be correct. So they just had to progress in that regard. So the moral from that was make sure all the admins are on the same page, make sure that they know all the details of the mission, even if it's not something they're directly working under, so that we don't have conflicts like that happen. A second one is, and something which I've learned personally from my time also, is that for a human to die, you just need to force them to take charges constantly, pretty much. You need to make them take fights. You can't really dangle stuff in front of them. Because, as an example, we had another mission. This was supposed to be like in a safe zone kind of thing, where humans and zombies would meet up. They would play any type of game against each other. If the human won, they got an antidote. If the zombie won, they got killed. And this mission was designed to kill zombies, to kill humans, because the zombies had a poor start. Two of our OZs had to drop out pretty early because of personal reasons, and the other OZ was barely functional. Like, his legs were almost gone at this point. So they were desperate for kills to happen, but the zombies were more desperate for the kills than the humans were for the antidotes, which meant the humans could dictate the terms of what games would be played for whether they get an antidote or whether they lose the life. And because of that, I think around 12 humans attempted challenges, out of which only one died. 11 humans got antidotes, and this became an entire mess from the moderation team. Like, what was supposed to be a slow start, now you have 11 humans with antidotes. Good luck taking care of that. So because of that, they just literally forced humans. They made a mission where humans were just taking charges, and the admins even ended up reaching out to the experienced humans and saying, like, hey, we completely messed up. Can you just, like, take charges and burn your antidotes? And the humans were like, yeah, we understand it's a game perfectly, and they ended up doing that. So sometimes, like, you gotta be willing to understand that sometimes you'll make mistakes, but try to be honest with, like, the experienced humans and zombies in terms of what this game state is and what you're looking for. And sometimes, like, they'll be willing to help out, because at the end of the day, the goal is to have fun for both humans and zombies, and that's something which I think the newer admins sometimes miss out on. They don't want to sabotage the game or just try to win at the risk of people not having fun and not coming back to the game. And if you want humans to die, just force them to take charges. That's another one.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and talk about one of my recent things for the game. So recently, my mod team is fairly new. A lot of our old mod team basically just graduated in spring. So over the summer, we ran 2 games. The first game was run by old mods who'd come back to help us. And then the second game was run by an entirely new team. And the idea was that we were all training. So it was a game for us to test out ideas and how to work as a team. And for the most part, it was a really fun game, but we had some balance issues with it. So we designed 2 missions that functioned very well, and 2 missions that one of which was incredibly zombie favored and caused a wipe at the end of day 1 of a 2-day game. And then our second mission, which was at the end of the game, was human favored, and the humans basically won the final hold with relative ease. And this was our summer 2021 game. And it came to a problem for us was just that we just underestimated a few environmental factors. We underestimated how much of an effect darkness would have on the human's ability to work as a team. And we overestimated the ability of a few power-ups and specials to turn the tide for zombies in the second mission. It was a learning experience for a lot of us. But one thing we were able to do is, due to just the structure of our game, we have like a shop and like collectibles you can like collect and turn into power-ups. And we had a couple of mods in character, because this is our pirate-themed game. And so even though the game ended up being a little unbalanced, we were able to keep the spirit of the game very high, and our players still came out of that having a really good time, which was a big relief for a lot of our mods. And so then for our fall game, we came into the game with basically, okay, how do we ensure balance throughout the night? And we came up with what we thought was a really good way to keep balance in control using a variety of specials and on-the-field deals that players could make.
Okay. We hear all of us, for the most part, talking about the human experience. On the zombie side of things, because it is half of the game and arguably the more important half, what's the advice for people who are playing as zombies? Whether it's, starting out as a zombie or, oh, drat, we're 2 missions in, I just got tagged, I'm feeling bad. What's your advice?
Kind of taking point on this. First and foremost, it's okay to feel bad for a little bit. Normally, some of the best players I've ever seen are upset because they're like, I just need to survive a little bit longer. But at the same time, now you have the opportunity for revenge. 9 times out of 10, you died because someone left you to die. Fight is a very, very good driving factor. Take full advantage of it. One of the other things for zombies, I always advise, find how you play. Not everyone can be these like super fast, run in, tag a bunch of human type players. I think I have played, with all the HvZ I've played, I think I've gotten less than 20 kills in my 4 years of playing HvZ. That's not what I do. I lead the charge, I block for other zombies, I help coordinate that sort of stuff. I'm loud, I'm a moderately sized human being. When it comes to playing zombie, the 3 easiest ways to think about playing zombie, in my opinion, is you either outrun them, outthink them, or overpower them. If you are outthinking a human, those are your zombies, and some people really love this, and it's the scariest thing ever. I've watched zombies hide in a bush for 4 hours for a single tag on someone. This is someone that if it weren't for that zombie's patience, wouldn't have gotten tagged any other way. If you're overpowering them, that's your horde tactics, you're learning how to put hordes in an effective formation, knowing when to run at the humans and when to run past the humans. A lot of stuff you'll pick up going to events or playing with other people or even just in discussion. And then you've got your athletes or more athletically inclined individuals that are just sprinting like there's no tomorrow, and you just are like, how? Okay. So don't be upset. You will get another shot as human in another game. Find what playstyle works for you, and find ways to capitalize on it. And yeah, that's my take on zombie play.
One of the biggest lessons that I learned about zombie play is from Athens, and that being a zombie is half the fun. Even though you do kind of feel bad that you have this goal of like, oh man, I got tagged and I was supposed to survive until the end, but the best part, in my opinion, about playing zombie is harassing people if you're in the same class as them. When I was zombie, I harassed this one kid named Sam, and was the entire class period, I was like, I'm gonna get you, Sam! I'm gonna get you! And I just completely harassed the humans. And also, in my opinion, the zombie prayer is a lot more fun to say as a zombie than as a human, because it is called the zombie prayer, and you just get to shout brains at the end and go, in the name of our nommer, nom nom, I am now a zombie. It feels like a rite of passage, you know?
Alright, so in my case, I consider myself a potato. I'm not very quick and stuff like that. Not very athletic. Anyway, I find the best way people who aren't, those who do a lot of cardio and that kind of stuff, the best way you can do things is, how do I say it? I lost my train of thought while I was saying this. Basically play with those people, because they know when and when not to run. You don't have to run all the time as zombie. That's a big thing. You want to save your energy for the charges. We have a guy named Kenny in our group. Great guy, and he plays amazing as zombie. And just recently, one of my strategies was playing with zombie was literally just trailing behind him. It kept me moving because I'm like, all right, I gotta follow this guy, and it gets you into the mindset of, all right, you gotta play as a horde. Doing it solo, sure, you can sneak in a bush, but the best way, well, not the best. There's no best way. The primary method of getting tagged, which, to be real, if you're not getting tagged as a zombie, that's not a big deal. You're there to have fun. You're not there to be like, oh, I got 8 tags. No, you're there to have fun. And to me, part of that is being with other people in the horde.
Okay. If I may, hang on one second. Am I big, or do to manually do that? I am. Thumbs up. Okay.
It's here to be big.
I'm thinking what it does is it doesn't show you on your own screen when you're featured, but it does on everyone else. And it took me just till this point to figure that out. So the question is, as a zombie, how do you I guess have fun? Now I'm gonna reinterpret that question a little bit. As a moderator, how do I encourage my players to think about having fun as a zombie, right? Because I've spent like 98% of my time here involved with HvZ as a moderator, and I'll be honest with you guys, I kind of suck as a player. And those of you who've played with me can tell me exactly how badly I suck. But as a moderator, there's a couple of things that I've noticed that help the zombies sort of have a better time of it, right? And I think for me, and it's all my experience, it's about managing player expectations, and it's the tiniest little thing. But when I was a freshman in 16, there was this huge culture around extracting, right? All the humans would like put tally marks on their tack gear. How many times did you make it to Friday? And it was like this whole big deal. They'd brag about it. Oh, I extracted 5 times. Oh, 6 times. And then when they get tagged as a zombie, they just stop playing. Because that's losing, right? You lost your chance to extract that year. So when we took over, it was the tiniest little change, but we started advertising HvZ as it was not survive until Friday to win. It was survive until you get tagged. It was the tiniest little like tweak in the wording, and it made such a huge difference because during all the call outs, you're bringing in these freshmen, you're telling them from the get go, hey, you're gonna play until you get tagged, then you're gonna keep playing, and it has made so much difference. And like nowadays people get tagged, they keep coming back night after night. One of our guys, he's our current treasurer now. I'll give Corbin a shout out, even though he's not paying attention to me right now. But he when he was a freshman, he got all the zombies to start singing Country Roads every extraction. They all get in a big huddle and they sing Country Roads. It's like their hype up song, and you get to watch the humans just like freak out. And it's just such a better culture on playing zombie here. And the only thing we changed was we made it an expectation for all the players going into it that you're gonna be a zombie. And for the past 3 Saturdays, we've been running HvZ just to try to sort of warm up my player base. We do 2 missions a night. And I tell every player at the beginning of every single Saturday, say, hey, you're gonna be a zombie. I'm a moderator. I'm gonna make you a zombie by the end of this. We will get tagged. And the players just have a blast. They go out there and they go into it expecting to get tagged, so it's not a surprise and nothing is lost. It's just, oh, I didn't do good this time. I'll do better next time. And I think as a moderator, advice to other moderators is it's all about managing player expectations. That has really helped us at least build a really good zombie culture.
Yeah, I like William's answer a lot in terms of managing player expectations because something a lot like the admin team likes to tell players a lot is that playing as a zombie, that's more than 50% of the fun. You actually have more fun playing as a zombie than you do as a human. You get to run around. You don't have to worry about looking behind your back every 5 seconds about, oh god, is there a zombie over there? Or check every single corner. You can just walk around freely. You can hide in bushes. You can run around. And hey, even if you get stunned, oh boo-hoo, I'm stunned for like 5 minutes. Oh wait, I'm back up. Now I'm gonna get a go at you again. And I think part of this is also like making sure you have great zombie leadership, making sure you have great OZs. And so like one of the questions we actually asked this exact same question to our OZs. Like if you see a zombie who's like, oh now I got tagged, boo. Like how do you make them how do you encourage them to play the game and how do you get them excited about the game? And it's basically like, hey, you joined the winning side earlier, congrats, because spoiler alert, zombies are gonna win. All the humans are gonna die, and you get more chances at attacking them now. And like zombie culture in general is much more fun, whereas humans are trying to like be, more stealthy, like more sneaky. Like zombie, we have songs, some of our humans actually still have PTSD from some of the songs that zombies just chant before, they go charging at the humans. And it's always a fun story to recount. And one of the favorite chants is, what happens when we get stunned? Nothing. What happens when they die? Welcome to the Horde! And it's about just building up that positivity and making sure that all the zombies are just, like, they're feeling included and they're feeling welcome. In terms of zombie strategy, it just comes down to, like, hey, just charge them. They're gonna fall. They might stun you 99 times out of 100, but one time they're gonna fail, and that time they're gonna join you on the next charge. So just keep charging. Don't be scared of getting stunned, because you'll get a chance to do it again in 5 minutes.
So another thing I wanted to mention real quick, a very important thing that you can also have happen. I did mention how I was following one of the best players because I see them as one of the zombie leaders. But have your vets interact with the freshmen as well with zombies. That works out a lot in getting them to intermingle, learning tactics, that kind of stuff. And another big thing is you learn a lot from dying and playing zombies compared to playing human. You'll learn this is what I did wrong. You'll get to see the gameplay from a different perspective that really enlightens you on, wow, that probably wasn't the best play to do, but hey, I'm zombie now. We're gonna win anyway. So that's a whole other thing.
Okay, at this point, I think I'm just going to open it up to anyone else here who wants to pose a question or a thought on their own, because I'm actually running out of questions on this end. So have at it, please.
I've got a question for the panel.
Okay.
All right. So earlier, I know we were discussing. I know especially William, you're discussing the idea of abandoning missions and going back to just 24-hour
Yes.
play.
Yes.
And I think that's an interesting for us to discuss because I know at least here at UF, and I don't know if this is why it happened everywhere else, but I know one of the reasons we switched to we slowly drifted more towards this mission structure where we still have play between missions, but it doesn't happen very often.
Right.
Is more so just that it's hard to get a large number of college students to devote that much time to the game. The mission structure allows players to go, oh, okay, I can block off 2 hours today to go play HvZ, and it kind of opens the game up to a lot more people to come out because it's easier for them to block off that time than it is for them to go, well, I'll find some time during the day to go outside and play, and then they just don't because they get caught up in assignment or something.
Right.
So it's just interesting. I'd like to open the floor up for everyone to discuss, if they switched between one or the other, why? You want to try and push back towards 24-hour play? Why? And how are you going to, bring players back into playing that and encourage them to be out there doing it? I just think it's an interesting thing to discuss.
If I may step in here, I honestly think, at least for my campus, the ideal thing is actually a balance of the two. This is coming from, in the spring, we normally run missions only, and that's due to inclement weather in Pennsylvania, and that happens. But what I've found is missions are great, and it's a good chance to kind of get everyone out together, give them a chance to work together, feel it out, function. And I think it's a great, like you said, some people need to have that pre-scheduled block time. But at the same time, I'm seeing just as many opportunities during the day where things are happening. The challenge is if you have a very competitive, heavy player base, they're going to be like, well, I'll just stay inside all day. I won't get tagged. It'll be fine. And so that kind of ruins the whole, I had players that showed up to, mission 1. It's like, oh, if I just stay in my room till midnight Friday for the rest of the week, I win. And so I know, historically speaking, the mission format was originally introduced to try and help combat the people that decided to hide in their room. I've seen that on my campus, having a balance of both, during open play in our week-long this past week, there were multiple small skirmishes. There was once where a zombie was messaging a human and just, taunting them, and then the humans get ballsy and do the exact same thing. And it's moments like those that we were speaking about earlier. The players are going to make their stories, but sometimes you need a little bit of a framework to help those stories along.
Fair enough. All good points, I guess. Yes. So okay. Let me reinterpret. Let me just go over the question again. The question is, why are missions important? Was that your question? Or something?
Somewhat. It's sort of just an open question of if you prioritize missions, why? If you prioritize open play, why? Because they do change the way this game is run. And
absolutely.
And who is it.
Okay, so if I prioritize missions, why? If I prioritize open play, why? So obviously, I'm a big fan of the players write their own stories, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I've not played a lot of games. I played 2 End Wars, 2 week-longs, and a handful of invitationals. And I can't really remember the mission on anything I've played. I can remember every mission that I've moderated or written. I can remember that to you, word for word. But I can't remember a mission that I've played in. All I remember is what happened, where we were at, what zombies we fought, and maybe that's just me, or maybe it's just me and the people I've talked to. But the one thing that keeps sticking with me is it's the interactions with the other people that you end up remembering. That's the fun part, right? I don't care about the NPC I'm supposed to escort. So that's sort of the basis for my line of reasoning. I also think that we're in a really unique situation here at Purdue, and this is sort of me moving away from the mission towards open play only, in that we haven't had HvZ since 2019, and it's been a while. So I'm not saying we don't have veteran players, because we have players who've been around since then, but we haven't run HvZ since then, so there is no collective memory of HvZ. There's very little collective memory of HvZ in our organization or on our campus right now. And so it's a lot of HvZ schools, I've explained all this before, but it's I'm getting my thoughts in order, so please forgive me if I stumble while I'm speaking here. A lot of the bigger schools, when you can run it year after year after year, you build up sort of a collective memory where word starts to spread, where your players, you have enough veteran players that you don't have to explain it from the ground up. But right now, I have staff members and officers who have never played HvZ before. I have no one, very, very few people in my organization even remember what HvZ is. So I'm in a unique position of having to reintroduce it to this environment from the ground up, and I'm finding that's very, very hard to be like, you're a human, he's a zombie, also he's a tank, also you're a pirate, and he's a wizard. It's a lot of rules to throw onto someone who's trying to decide whether or not this is something they want to spend the next 5 years in, or 6 years, how long it takes to get a college degree these days. For me, it's longer. And so that really prompted me to really go back and be like, well, how did they introduce HvZ in the beginning, right? So I reached out to some of our club founders, and I said, hey, like, you had 1,200 people playing a week long. How did you do that? And they said, well, we pitched it as you play in between classes, and we pitched it as it's a game like Assassins. You tag your friends. It's all about interacting with your friends and tagging them, and we threw in some very, very light missions. That's why I'm doing 2010, not earlier, because they did have, maybe I spoke at a line that said no missions. I am coming up with ways to get people out of their rooms, and it's going to be in a vein very similar to how a lot of campuses do Assassins, more so than how a lot of people do HvZ. And so basically the logic that I've arrived at is that I have to reintroduce this to our environment from the ground up, and so I'm just following the footsteps of the fellas back in 2009, 2010 when I got it really, really big. And it was all day gameplay only, and that was the hook, was play during the day, all day, every day. So that's why I'm prioritizing that for a week long. And then it has an added side benefit of without missions, I don't need to spend a week in advance planning it. I don't need to spend 6 hours a night with a team of 5 moderators running a mission and starting our homework at midnight. I don't need to spend a week afterwards giving everyone a chance to catch up on all their assignments, right? I can run this whole game week with 2, maybe 3 moderators, which just lets us run all of our other events. We meet 3 times a week. We have something like 54 events planned this semester. And so having the lighter game week means even if we do get less players, I don't have to sacrifice any of my other events as well. So it's win-win-win. It's reintroducing it to the campus. It's a fun, fresh take on HvZ for some people. And also it's no workload on my moderator staff. My already super overtaxed moderator staff, who are wonderful people. If you're listening, there's like 2 of you. If you're listening, I want to thank all my moderators for all their hard work. And there was something else I did want to hit on, but I forget. I don't know. The player interactions were always my favorite part about HvZ, so that's what I'm really hoping to prioritize here. Again, it's experimental. Maybe it'll crash and burn. Maybe I'll be the laughing stock of everyone. But I've been advertising it as hey, have you ever played Assassins in high school? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, it's pretty much as close to that as we can get and still be approved by the campus. And that has been hooking a lot of people, especially into that whole week-long thing. I know we talked about time commitment issues, which is something that we've been facing a lot. But when you compare it to something they're already familiar with, it has actually done wonders for us for getting stuff in there. So I understand it's a little bit unorthodox, but I'm very excited to see how it works. You know, it's experimental. And for the people who love the missions, that's what our Saturday nights are all about. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, some people do live for the missions, and so we give that to them. You know, Saturday night, come play a mission. Sorry, I just kind of spoke for like 20 minutes. Mute me, Brian.
It's okay.
Mute me.
It was entertaining. So
Mute me, Brian. Mute me. Bring it on. You have the power. That's your
So
job.
anyway,
That's why we pay
moving
you.
on. Any other comments or questions?
Yes.
I have. It's a very general, almost cheesy question. But I want your takes on it. Of what does HvZ mean to you? It's very open-ended. Because in my eyes, I don't see it as much as a game as much as a community. We're here to have fun. This isn't supposed to be, competitive or sporty. It's made to be something you do leisurely as a hobby. So I want your takes on that.
I was going to say the same thing, Henry. I was going to say it's less about a game and more about a community. I definitely have made some really, really close friends from my time playing Humans vs. Zombies. I'm really, really good friends with Luke. I'm really good friends with everyone on my mod staff, and I'm really excited to become close friends and closer friends with the people who are going to sign up for HvZ, and also people at other schools like you guys. I literally met you all today, and I already feel like I'm super, super connected with all of you.
Yep. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Having trouble there?
I knocked over a tape measure that was on my desk for some reason.
To me, it's very much, what's the phrasing? We are the island of misfit toys, but we've all found a home here. It's everyone comes to college expecting something different. Everyone goes through life through different experiences, but having a fun way to connect with people, have some wild adventures in the process. It's fun is kind of the core value that keeps HvZ alive. It's the idea that we're running around with small children's toys and laughing about it across the rest of the day. It's developing those friendships as you're like all huddling in a death ball moving across campus. It's this really, I would even call it a family that I think everyone here and many of the people watching have found through their life. Internationally, at this point, with some of the connections that can be made with people from the UK and Singapore and everywhere else in the world. And so to me, at its core, HvZ it's the family you make along the way, is I think the best way to sum that up.
I would just like to point out something that someone said in the comments. They said, quote, "People think we're a bunch of awkward nerds," and they're right, but most of us are just here to have fun.
That's true. That's true. I think, okay, I run our club's social media accounts, right? Because it's fun, because I like doing that. And if I could do just that and not run the entire thing, I absolutely would. But so I'm always running around with my phone, taking pictures of people and just snapping these candids, and everybody in the game just has these giant grins on their face all the time. There's just something wonderful about seeing people come out, and every picture you take, they're all just hanging out with people they didn't know an hour ago, and they're just everyone's smiling, and it's just really amazing to just see the joy you can bring to people by running what people have called, it is a silly game. It's just a fun little game, but you can, I don't know, just make somebody's day a little bit brighter, and that's what it's all about to me.
Yeah, humans versus zombies. It's just awesome, is what it is. Like, it's a community. It's like there's nothing else I can guarantee at any other college that is like humans versus zombies. There's nothing else which does that same thing of just getting people across various like diverse backgrounds. It doesn't matter what your major is or whatever you do at college. And you can just run around, chase people, throw socks, or stump people with Nerf, and just laugh about it and have a great time. Like, and just be silly playing with toys for an entire week. Like, there's just nothing like it, and that might be like playing HvZ might have been arguably the best decision I made at college, and it's helped me find some of my best friends. And I know that statement is true for everyone in this call and everyone who's watching, and I just really hope that people for a long time can get to experience that same thing, playing HvZ, that we got to experience during our time.
Yeah. I don't want to just, if I just go ahead and say, everything I want to say, just sound like everyone else again. I do agree. We all definitely seem to have a very similar relationship with HvZ. I just think it's interesting that it's a community and a family in some ways. The people that we meet while playing or moderating, maybe we won't see them for a little while. Won't see them until next game. But every time we get together, we have a great time, and it's something you can always look forward to. And it's a really bright spot.
I think that's just about everything at this point. So I guess we could start wrapping things up. But before we do that, when are all the next games at our respective campuses happening? I'm sure everyone has something they want to advertise. So I don't know. Just fight each other over who wants to, say it first.
Yeah, I can start with the Grove City College Invitational is happening on October 23rd. I'm sorry, Michael, I don't mean to steal your thunder, but we are attending. And then Geneva College's week-long game starts November 8th at 7 p.m. and goes to November 12th at 7 p.m. And the theme is Coconut Mall.
I guess since I had a bit of an introduction, I'll go next. We are hosting an invitational. It'll be our very first one, so to those that have had the ability to play or that are interested, it's a new map. It's going to take place October 23rd. The first step in registration is filling out an interest form, because the school wouldn't just let me send out a formal registration form to the masses, because they're like, we can't just open it up to the world. I'm like, but we can. So registration will stay open through, I believe, midnight October 15th. It's a week before the event. If you want details, if you look up, there is an event Facebook page. Feel free to put any questions on there. It is titled the UGC Invitational Hunt for Survival. The quick TLDR, if you ever wanted to feel it, recently we had the Jumanji movies come out with like Dwayne Johnson and company. Very much inspired by that. So expect Indiana Jones video game mechanics and a lot of fedoras.
I'll go ahead and go next. Gator HvZ here at UF. Our next HvZ game is going to be our week-long game, which will be November 15th to the 20th. Not ready to announce the theme of that yet, but it's going to be week-long. It'll start on Monday. It'll end on Saturday. And if you're interested in traveling for it, we're going to be having missions Friday night and then 2 missions on Saturday. So it'll be easy to travel for those last couple missions if you want to come out. And we're very excited.
All right. In the case of UMBC, we don't have any, invitational set up just yet, but we do have bi-weekly games going on almost all the time. I mean, unless there's like some big life-changing event, pandemic, I guess. That makes sense. Anyway, we have games every Monday at 7 p.m., Thursday at 7 p.m. We have Zombie Bash coming up, which is usually October 29th. Our invitational, I said we don't have an invitational going on, but that's usually in the spring, is what I'm trying to say. For anyone in the Maryland area, our website is umbchvz.com. You can get our Discord and all that in there. And that'll give you information on how to come to our games. Anyone's welcome. It's your game.
It's my turn. Okay. This Sunday we're running 2 or 3 HvZ missions starting at 6 p.m. in the Stewart Center B2 Boiler Lake Tag office. October 17th through the 22nd is our flavorless vanilla week long. Every Thursday night, 6 p.m., meet us in front of Wiley Residence Hall for Nerf Night at Wiley. Starting October 16th, we're running our semester-long Capture the Flag League. Get a team of 5, sign up for some super competitive CTF with tournament standings and all that fun jazz that you get out of a real intramural sport. And starting in November, we start playing indoors to dodge the weather. So we'll be playing all the way up through the very end of the semester in December. And lastly, but not leastly, for my friends from the Midwest, next spring we're planning Boiler Dome 3, our massive invitational, which is going to be awesome. So yes, if you're around, if you're a Purdue student, show up anytime. It's free. Everything's always open to Purdue students. Starting October 1st, they tell me I can open up stuff up to everybody. But that's like what, a week? So if it's after October 1st, show up. If you're not a Purdue student, if you are a Purdue student, you better be there this Sunday. I'm expecting you to be there. Peter, I'm expecting you to be there. I know you're watching this. You better be there.
All right. So I guess I'm last. Hopefully not the least. So obviously Georgia Tech until now has had unfortunately close player games. But we did also recently have a week-long game. But we've also, as an admin team, one of our projects this term is going to start to be having monthly games, like monthly 1-day or 2-day long games. And that is something which, like basically sort of just like a one mission kind of game, and where we just run around and have fun. And we're hoping that can also be opened up to players from other campuses. So, and we're planning to start that around maybe next month, so probably around the start of November. And we've also internally discussed having an invitational format besides that, like on a per semester basis, hopefully starting with next spring. This is a conversation we'll also have to involve with campus police. But we're hoping for good news. Given that we've been able to communicate with them pretty well recently. So hopefully I'll have some good news for you in the coming weeks about that.
Okay, I think that'll wrap things up. So thanks to Sriram, Gabe, William, Mike, Magdelena, Henry, and everyone else watching. I'm Brian. I'm just here to moderate things and look good in the background. So thanks for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you at all of our games soon.
Yes, absolutely. Let's give Brian a big round of applause, everybody. Yes? No? Yes? Yes, there we go. There we go. Good job. Good job.
Just golf clap.
Before we all head out, I do want to give a shout out to Florida State University. Their HvZ game is happening literally right now. They have admission starting at 7 p.m. tonight.
Oh, well, yeah. Good for them. I'm excited to see how that turns out.
Yeah, and they're running a game the whole weekend, so if anyone's in the Tallahassee area, let's check that out.
And on that note, I want to give a shout out to my entire mod staff. I do apologize for the train, but I want to give a shout out to Luke Robertson, Austin Dye, Austin Herman, Nathaniel Gray, and Sam Rainey for being an awesome mod staff.
You know, I might as well give a shout out to my guys as well. The rest of my fellow officers, Chris, Kirby, David, Nick, y'all are great people, and our absolute ton of sub-officers, you're all great too. I don't know if y'all are watching this, but, you know, thank you for everything you do. Yeah. Oh, and thank you, Joe. Oh my God, Joe, you're great. Thank you.
I'm sure Fusco appreciates that.
I want to give one last shout out to all of the women who play HvZ. Y'all are awesome, especially the women in leadership roles.
While we're all giving shout outs to our mod team, I don't want to. I probably wouldn't be best for me to read out the 13 mods I had in my last game, but just to thank my executive board, Zoe Nevins, Ethan Shover, and Brenna Johnson. Thank you so much for always helping out and making this club possible to run. Wish you could be here tonight.
Before I lose a chance to do so, I want to thank my mod team, as everyone has done, but I also want to thank my players. It's always really nice to see new faces and to see the same faces coming back and them get excited about it. And I think almost everyone up here can agree or stand with me on the fact that getting to see the community thrive and still function, despite all the hardships the past year and a half we've endured, is really special to all of us. So thank you to not only my players at Grove City, but all the players that participate in all the clubs here.
Absolutely. Hang on one second. I make myself big. There we go.
Big Will.
Well, yeah. Well, it's only recording my screen, so if I'm not big on my screen, I'm not big on the recording. I figured that out. Yeah. So I just want to, Board League Tech people are awesome, but they already know that. I want to thank all the other schools for participating in this weird little side project of mine. I want to just throw this out there to my listeners, or all of the people watching, viewers, listeners, I don't know what you call it. Is this television? Is this audio? I don't know. If this was beneficial, let us know. If you didn't like it, you can let us know as well. If you want to see more stuff like this, let me know as well. If you want to see more, school, what would you call this, a round table, a panel, a Q&A, let us know all of your thoughts. Let us know what topics you want to see if we were to do another one. Do you want to do, I don't know, collegiate PvP? Do you want to open it up to alumni? That was something someone threw out there. Get alumni in and do the compare and the contrast. I just want to open this up to all of our listeners. Whenever you hear this, if it's live, throw it in the comment section. If you're watching this on YouTube, throw it in the comment section. Panelists as well, if you enjoyed this, you want to do more, you have an idea that hits you tonight when you're in bed trying to sleep, oh, this would make a great idea. Throw it at me. You know how to get a hold of us. Throw it on any of the comment stuff. And if people are interested, I'd be down to do this more regularly. Maybe we don't monopolize Brian's time. but it's just something that we'll see where it goes. Let me know what you think, watchers and panelists and everyone else, and thank you guys for showing up. I'm going to hand it back over to Brian to take us home if he has anything else to say.
Oh, no. I think you summed it up pretty well. So, I mean, you're the guy controlling the stream, so as far as I'm concerned, You can sign us off.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Will. Good night, everyone.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Night.
See you guys. See you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Have a good night. I'll catch you guys next time. I'm gonna end the stream now in 5, 4, 3, 2. All right.